Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Log Show here on YouTube. How's everyone doing? I know it's been a while since I have been around. It has been a minute nonetheless. It's been honestly since before Thanksgiving I've seen you guys. So we got a whole lot to talk about between Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving, the past couple weeks of NFL football, obviously. The NBA in-season tournament is in full swing. We have that going on. We have, honestly, I'm starting to blank. Oh, UFC 297, I believe. I want to say 297, it might be 296, coming up in about a week or so, with Leon Edwards headlining, defending his belt for the third time, this time against the Colby Covington. So that one should be fun to watch. That one I'm extremely excited for. I know that card is stacked to the brim all the way down, but we'll get into that next week when it is closer, because even though I am very, very excited for it, it seems to, I'm talking a little fast for y'all. I'm headlining. Hold on, give me a second here. Trying to get this radio right. There we go. Apologize about that on the live stream as this wire comes in the way. But nonetheless, we are rocking and rolling here in the we are rocking and rolling here. See, my mic says it's on here. I apologize to you guys for the delay in the stream. This is why the stream was delayed to start anyway. It was a lot of technical difficulties today, but we try to roll through it. For some reason, I don't think this is going through on radio. So I think it's just us today here on YouTube. I don't know if I'm live on iHeart today, so it might just be us here today on YouTube. But nonetheless, that's fine because I'm talking about a lot of stuff, and NFL is the headline of it. The NFL, we are in full swing. This is when the real season starts. It's after Thanksgiving. Bill Belichick has always said that since that's always been a famous Bill Belichick quote is the real season starts after Thanksgiving. Once you get to Thanksgiving and post-Thanksgiving, that is when the real season starts. And I am extremely excited for this quote-unquote real season to start. We have a lot really breaking down going on throughout the league. If we really look at it, last week was a very exciting week. We saw the 49ers really turn up, and they get a huge win against the Eagles. Nonetheless, that was a huge one. We got the Cowboys having a nice bye week. They come into this week. They play the Eagles this week on Sunday Night Football, I believe, maybe Monday night, but one of those primetime games. That one should be a barn burner. And really just a lot going on around the league. Packers seem to be back. We'll get into all of it. We will. We will get into all of it. Excuse me. But what I want to start and really headline today's show with is the 49ers. I want to talk about them. And the real question with the 49ers right now is, are the San Francisco 49ers the best team in the league? That's the question. A lot of people would have said it was the Eagles going into this week, and what the 49ers were able to do to the Eagles in Philadelphia, nonetheless, is absolutely immaculate. Absolutely immaculate. They walk into Philadelphia, beat that team by 23 points. They're a team, this is a team that has been rocking and rolling when you really break it down. In just the game against the Eagles, Debo had 3 total touchdowns. He had 3 total touchdowns. I think 2 of them were in the air and 1 was on the ground, if I remember correctly. It might have been 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. I don't remember how it was exactly flipped. Nonetheless, 3 total touchdowns. Over the past 4 weeks, 3 of those touchdowns came in this past game. He has 5 touchdowns over the past 4 weeks. He's playing absolutely out of his mind. He's a big addition for this team, someone who is very much needed for this squad to play well and has proven his value to this team week in and week out, especially when he was injured. You saw the decrease in production, and not only the decrease in production, Debo is such an interesting weapon that you saw. It was the offense got less complex without Debo in it. You saw less of these motions, less of these, you know what I mean? When you have Debo there, you could throw him in the backfield. You could do so much with that man that when he was out for that week, those couple of weeks, and the 49ers went on that small little slump that we saw without Debo there, it wasn't just because, Brock Purdy couldn't get the ball to Debo. It was no, their offense becomes so much simpler without him in. It's such a big piece. So to have him back clearly has proven great for them. Christian McCaffrey seems to be at least somewhat healthy. He had 133 total yards, 93 of which were on the ground against Philly. Again, he's been humming as of late. Not as much as he was early in the year, at least when it comes to getting in the end zone. He got into the end zone a lot more earlier in the year. But over the past 4 weeks has just under 400 yards, has just under 600 total yards from yards from scrimmage. So really a nice little stretch here for the 49ers to really prove that are they the best team in the league? When they don't turn the ball over, it seems like they are, genuinely. Like when they're able to take care of the ball, and I know obviously that's a big thing for all teams, is taking care of the ball. And it's not easy to do in the NFL. But when the 49ers went on that little slump, they lost the turnover battle 4-7. They had 4 takeaways and turned the ball over 7 times. While since that bye week, they got that bye week break, and it seemed to refresh them. They seem to have talked it over during the bye week, figured some kinks out. They've only turned the ball over once since the bye week. 8-1 is their turnover differential right now. That's insane. That is insane. If you consistently play like that, you have your defense playing well. Your defense you have the best rush defense in the league, the second best scoring defense in the league. Overall, I think they're they're a top 5 defense easily, the 49ers. At worst, they're number 5. At worst, they're number 5. You have a very, very good all-around team. Since that bye week that I was talking about earlier, where they've been playing exceptionally well, they're outscoring teams 133-49. You got weapons. You got Fred Warner. You got Nick Bosa. You got Chase Young they just traded for. You got, what's his name in the middle? Not Hargrave. Hargrave's in Philly. I can't remember. I think Armstead's still there on the D-line. You have exceptional players in the secondary. You have a lot of exceptional players in the secondary. You got a lot of good players on this team. Obviously, on the offense, we were talking about you got Debo, you got CMC, you got Ayuk, you have Brock Purdy, who's having a very, very good year, and you can't say he isn't. You have even like Raheem Mostert. Actually, no, Raheem Mostert's in Miami. Sorry, I was flashing back there. But you even have the other running back that I'm blanking on his name right now. But you have a lot of good weapons in San Francisco on both sides of the ball, all playing very well, all clicking together very well. And they're a team that really looks to be putting it together. You have players, like I said, you have Ayuk, you have Eric Armstead still. You got, and then not only that, you got a big player like Teron Armstead on the wing, who's a huge, huge player for them, makes a huge difference on the offensive line. You have an offensive line that's playing out of their mind in general as a unit. This San Francisco team really, after the performance that they put up in Philadelphia on Sunday, I don't know how you could say that there's a team better than them in the league. I think it's always been a two-man race in the NFC so far this year between the 49ers and the Eagles. And then you got that second tier where it's like the Cowboys and you got your Cowboys and your Lions and your Rams, your Seahawks. You got those teams, but I think in that upper echelon, it's always been those two teams. And for San Francisco to be able to walk in there like that into Philadelphia, nonetheless, it's not like they did this in San Francisco. They did this in Philadelphia in November. It wasn't December yet, but a very, very, very impressive outing for the 49ers there to get a very, very big win against the Eagles. And like I said, over the past couple weeks, they've been playing exceptionally well. They've been putting wins together. They went on that little slump. They lost to, you know what I mean? They went on that little 3-game losing streak. Everybody got concerned, and they really put their ish together. They put it back together. Like I said, the defense been playing out of their mind. We talked about that scoring differential, the turnover differential. They haven't allowed over 90 rushing yards in the past couple of weeks. They're just playing out of their mind right now, out of their absolute mind right now. And it's a good time to be playing out of your mind. You're in this November, December area. This is where really a lot of pretenders get proven as pretenders and the real contenders shine through. So we're going to see who those pretenders are. And the 49ers came out right away and said, we are not one of them. The Eagles, this is a little concerning after, you saw in their outing last week, too, against Kansas City. And a couple, I apologize, and a couple other of those games, it just wasn't really clicking for them. It wasn't. There was a lot with the Eagles that seems different. It seems that their offense recently has lost creativity, lost excitement. It seems bland, especially in the run game. If we're going to compare it to last season, at least, earlier this year, they were just clicking. They were just humming over everyone, beating everyone who was in their path. They didn't really need it this year. But you look back at last season, that offense was so interesting. It was so different. There was so much motion and so many different pieces you have to look at. Was Jalen Hurts going to keep it? And they haven't done a lot of that this year. A lot of Jalen Hurts keeping it has been a tush push. You know what I'm saying? There hasn't been a lot of Jalen Hurts out of the backfield kind of design runs. You haven't seen that as much this year. You bring in a player like DeAndre Swift, and like I said, it seems that there's been a lack of creativity in this offense for some reason this year. I don't know if that's a loss of, I believe Steichen was their offensive coordinator last year. So maybe that's a loss in someone like Shane Steichen, who, is doing great things down in Indianapolis. So I don't know if it's necessarily that, but there's definitely some sort of lack of connection and lack of creativity with this Eagles offense last year from this year. I mean, Jalen Hurts is playing out of his mind. Absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong. Jalen Hurts to me is a front runner for MVP. You got other people. You got I don't know. I do want to get into this MVP talk now that I brought it up. You got other people. It's getting very heavy. A lot of this Dak MVP talk is getting very interesting. I think we're down to 3 candidates at this point, at least 3 front runners, and it probably is Hurts, Dak, and then Brock Purdy is probably the top 3 you have going for you right now with MVP. And you have a really interesting case with all these 3 people. We're going to look at those 3 first. We're going to look at everyone who I have. I got a big list of the people right here. I want to start with Dak because Dak is playing very, very well, and he's playing very well as of late. Since week 7, he's 21. He has 21 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. The Cowboys offense has been humming. They've won 6 of their last 7. They have the 5th best offense in the league. They're playing really well. Dak he's got 32,000 yards. I think he's on pace for like 4,200 right now. He's on a very, very good, or I think he's on pace for just about 4,000. Which a year with 4,030 touchdowns, which he's on pace for. He's very much on pace for. He's on pace for. I want to say it's like 35 touchdowns, and almost 3,300 or from almost 4,200 yards, which to me is an exceptional season. You know what I mean? He's probably gonna have about 10 to 12 interceptions by the end of the season. With the past what do we got? 6 games left, 5 games left. So, and he's got a tough schedule coming up. He does. So Dak's MVP case really, really is going to ride in these next couple weeks. I think Dak has to win the NFC East to win MVP. He's got the showdown with Jalen Hurts this week, which will be a barn burner on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles in Dallas too. I think if he could get this win against the Eagles, and like I said, they could start humming. If they could get an NFC East championship, I don't even think they need the 1 seed. The 49ers can end up with the 1 seed. You know what I'm saying? But they need to at least win the division for us to say Dak Prescott can win MVP. If the Cowboys hum, if the Cowboys start rolling, and they have been rolling as of late, like I said, but if they just keep going and honestly just keep rolling, they beat the Eagles this week. They go into Buffalo, get a win. Maybe you lose to like Detroit or Miami. But if you win 4 of these last 5, including the game against the Eagles, and win the division, I can't say that Dak doesn't deserve the MVP. I'll be completely honest. I cannot say that Dak Prescott does not deserve the MVP at that point. Now, you lose to the Eagles this week, you lose the division. I think that puts Jalen Hurts in the perfect spot, a shoe-in to win. I know he's got less yards, but like you look at pure impact to team, I think Dak has better I don't want to say has better weapons than Jalen Hurts because he doesn't. But I think Jalen Hurts' numbers are weird because of the way that Philly offense is run. But Jalen Hurts is clearly the whole part of that offense. Does the Cowboys have the same success without Dak Prescott? No, I'm not saying they do. I would be completely stupid to get on this microphone and say that the Cowboys without Dak Prescott will be just as good. But I think the things that the Eagles are doing are more surrounded around Jalen Hurts than, like if you put another MVP candidate in Dallas, they're doing just as well, which is, you know what I'm saying? Like if you put a Lamar, you put these solid quarterbacks in Dallas, I think they're doing just as well. Is kind of my point is I think Jalen Hurts kind of has this so far this season kind of on lock, especially because you look at the situation with Hurts. He's playing out of his mind. He had such a good early year, and their play calling surrounds him so heavily, it's insane. Like you get within 2 yards, you already know a play is being called and it's not being stopped. And it's a tush push, which is Jalen Hurts QB sneak, which has worked. And it works because their O-line is so good. It works because of how good Philadelphia is. It doesn't work because of Jalen Hurts, which is interesting. Then how does that turn into MVP? But it also works because that man squats 600 pounds. You know what I mean? And he's so impossible to take down in that situation. Hurts is also Hurts is on pace for 4,000, probably going to have just under 4,000 yards this year. Through the air. He's probably going to have about 500 yards on the ground. I think he's at 430 right now, so he's going to have at least 500 yards from scrimmage. He's got 12 rushing touchdowns, so he's on pace to have a career high in rushing touchdowns, which he probably will have with the way that tush push goes. I mean, you look at some of these wins he's had too. The win, not last week, obviously against San Francisco, but the week before against Buffalo. That second half comeback was insane. I think it was week 4, I want to say it was, like week 4 or 5 against Kansas City. Another second half comeback that was insane that proved that he holds up with the best team. Like, it's not like a situation with Miami, who I'll get into later, where they're not winning against good teams, where it's like now it's weird. Like, can they really, you know what I'm saying? They're not scoring against good teams. It's just not clicking. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles outside of San Francisco, have done nothing but beat all the hard teams on their schedule and in very, very impressive fashion. Now, they haven't gone out there and mollywopped them, but to have second half comebacks against Kansas City and Buffalo on your resume in a year where you seem unstoppable. Jalen Hurts seems unstoppable this year, even though the stats might not translate it. Jalen Hurts has been absolutely unstoppable this year. So he's a candidate. Obviously, you look at Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy could win it. He's having a very good year. He's on pace for 4,200 yards, probably 30 touchdowns. He only has 6 interceptions. And they got San Francisco, again, a team with a lot of big wins. You look at that in like a college standpoint when they grade, and I know a lot of you are in arms about Florida State not getting in with college football. I agree with the playoff, by the way. I think as much as Florida State, quote unquote, deserved it, I know I'm getting off topic here. As much as Florida State deserved it, in respect to those kids down in Florida State, they played their hearts out. And you go undefeated, you think. But I don't know. Is there SEC bias? Probably. But also to really break it down, the SEC is so far and above every other division in college football that to think of the college football playoff, now the 4 teams is wrong anyway, and we'll complain about the 12 teams next year, yada, yada. But to think about a college football playoff without an SEC team is crazy. Like, you could argue as much as Florida State has that argument. Sorry to get off topic here. I'll get back to the MVP talk in a second. But as much as Florida State has an argument, does Georgia not have an argument? I know they just lost to Alabama, and Alabama got in because they beat Georgia. But if Georgia, you're the defending champion, you've lost one of your last 30 games. Because you lost one, you can't get a shot to go 3 straight. So it's real interesting what you got there. It's really interesting. But back to what I was saying about the MVP talk, because I was saying on a college sense, you have to look at those big wins that these players have. Dak doesn't have a lot of them yet this year, and that's my big problem with Dak is he just doesn't have a lot of those big wins put together so far this year, like Jalen Hurts with Kansas City and Buffalo. Brock Purdy's got that win last week over Philly. They beat Dallas. They manhandled Jacksonville. Like, San Francisco's got a lot of good wins. So you got Brock Purdy. He's in contention. I can't help but throw out C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's leading the league in passing yards. He's got 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He looks like he's got the Texans in a firm playoff position. He looks like that more likely than not. Him and DeMeco Ryans are going to be the first rookie head coach, rookie quarterback duo to make the playoffs. You can't not throw his name in the ring. Like, I think it's unlikely that C.J. Stroud wins it, but I could see him getting a vote or two from someone. You know what I mean? Lamar too. Lamar's been having a great year. I think the Ravens might need to go on a run, but to say that they can't and that he can't win MVP, the MVP race this year is tight, man. In my opinion, I think it's tighter than a lot. I think people think Jalen Hurts has it in the bag. I think a lot of people could win it. Even when you look at out of position players, you got to mention Tyreek Hill. He looks like he's going to break the NFL receiving record. He's on pace for over 2,000 yards, so he'll probably break that record. He's got 100 yards in 6 of his last 8 games. Like, he's such a monster. You see it on the field week in and week out of him. Another name I want to throw out there, Myles Garrett's been humming. He's the best player on the best defense, and he's got 13 sacks. He's having an absolute ridiculous year. So you got to throw his name in the ring. It's an interesting one. I think it would probably be Jalen Hurts personally, but I think it's really interesting. Speaking of MVP candidates, the reigning MVP, Patrick Mahomes, down there in Kansas City, they're in an interesting spot. I think the Kansas City team that we've seen as of late is not the same Kansas City team we have seen in the past. I think the Kansas City team we've seen as of late is struggling defensively, and they need to fix that ASAP, especially where they're struggling defensively. They've lost 3 of their last 5. They beat Miami, which is a big win. That one was in Germany. They got that big win. They beat Vegas. They lost to Denver when Denver started their little run. I was looking at the stats and I was reading stuff earlier today and yesterday and all week and stuff, especially about that Denver loss. That Denver loss was really more Denver playing well than it was Kansas City playing bad. It's more the losses to Green Bay and Philly I want to talk about. Now, yes, Philly's a very, very good team, but one you were leading going into halftime, and you gave up like $157, I think it was, on the ground. They gave up $148 on the ground on Sunday to Green Bay. And that is a problem they're going to have to fix very soon. Like, that's a problem they're going to have to fix ASAP. You know what I mean? Like, you can't, I don't know. I just don't feel like you could, the way that Kansas City's been playing, they've been playing well, but their defense, Kansas City, I think they'll put it together. They usually do. So I think they'll figure it out and they'll put it together. But, you know, you got Mahomes. Over the past 5 weeks, he's been playing fairly well. Turned the ball over a little bit, has 4 interceptions over the past 5 weeks. But, like, I don't know. It's the Kansas City defense, and especially on Sunday with Green Bay. Green Bay, that one was injured. Green Bay just shoved it down their throat, man. Like, honestly, just gave the ball to A.J. Dillon and just kept and Green Bay is rolling right now. They've won 4 of their last 5. They beat Kansas City. They beat Detroit on Thanksgiving. Jordan Love looks like he's back as what we were saying he was at the beginning of the year. He's making throws that are out of his absolute mind. The Packers are back, man. I got to give the Packers a shout out. Like, the Packers are back. And like, they did it against Kansas City last week, who's struggling right now. But, like, we got teams rolling right now. The Packers are back. The Broncos seem to be rolling, even though they lost this week. They still won 5 of their last 6 with a loss this week. They're coming off a 5-game win streak with the loss this week. But still, like, you got a lot of teams rolling right now. It's an interesting spot we're looking at across the league. Let me pull up the playoff picture real quick, just because, like, I think everyone's interested in it. Because you look at the playoff picture, the Packers have now squeezed themselves in. I believe they're in a wild card now, if the NFL wants to load. Thank you, NFL.com. But yeah, you got the Eagles. All right, let's start with the NFC. You got the Eagles in the 1 seed. All right. And I don't know if they've clinched a playoff spot yet. They're very close. I think if they win against the Cowboys, they end up clinching. But you got the Eagles in the 1 seed. You got the 49ers a game behind at the 2 seed. You got the Lions at the 3 seed. And those 3 teams are most likely not going to change. I think those 3 teams got the division on lock. I think they got the 1, 2, and 3 seed on lock. Are the 49ers going to squeeze into that 1 seed? That'll be interesting. They got the Seahawks this week. So I don't know. Can the Cowboys get it? The Cowboys have a hard schedule coming up. They got Philadelphia, then I think they're in Buffalo, then in Miami. Like, a lot of interesting. And then it's the 4 through 7 in the NFC. That's real interesting because the 4, you got this NFC South division that I'm a fan of the Saints of. It's very interesting. You know what I mean? It's very up for grabs. Whoever's in it is going to end up probably playing the Cowboys and giving the Cowboys a good, a favorable matchup for the Cowboys in the first round. 6 right now, you have the Vikings, and 7, you have the Packers. On the bubble, with the same record, though, you got the Rams and the Seahawks. The Packers have an interesting upcoming schedule because I know they got the Giants this week. Let me get into this. They got the Giants this week. Like, the Packers have they're in New York. They got the Giants on Monday. Then they got the Bucks, the Panthers, the Vikings, and the Bears. So the way the Packers have been looking, They hope to be rolling, and they hope to squeeze in if they could keep, like, if they could win. I want to say if they could beat all of those teams, even if they lose like Minnesota, because they can win all those games. They could win out 100%. I can see the Packers winning out going, what is that, 10-6, 11-6? 100%. 100% I can see the Packers winning out and finishing it with 11 wins. I think they might lose to, like, you know what I mean? Maybe they lose to like the Vikings along the way and then a 10-7. But the Vikings, now that's interesting. You got the Pasternaut. That whole insanity run seemed to have died down. I think, I don't know. I think it's real interesting. You got a lot of interesting situations here in the NFC. Like, I don't know. I just got a lot going on in my head right now. That's why I keep stuttering. Because you got a situation where it's like if the Rams make the playoffs now and they end up playing a team like the Vikings, like, or they end up playing a team like the Lions. I've heard a couple of Lions. I've seen the Lions fans online talking about this. It's like, as the Lions, is not the last matchup you want is Matt Stafford? Because I feel like Matt Stafford would love to go get a playoff win in Detroit. I feel like Matt Stafford would love to go do that. A lot of motivation there. Like, that's not a situation you want to end up in. So do you want do the Rams get in? But if the Rams get in, maybe the Packers end up with that 6th seed. You know what I'm saying? Or end up with that 7th seed. The Rams are the 6th seed. And they're playing, they're the 7th seed. And they end up playing San Francisco, which now that's a divisional game. Can you beat a team 3 times? There's so many interesting situations that could happen in the NFC. And then you got Seattle with that defense who's playing really, really well this year. Geno Smith not playing as well, but still rolling. Damn, this is interesting. Even the AFC, I'm looking at the AFC. The Colts squeezed in right now. They got that wild card spot over the Texans as of the moment. The Browns are still in the playoffs with that defense somehow, with Joe Flacco starting at quarterback. You got the Steelers in there too. The playoffs are shaping up to be real interesting, man. Really, really, really interesting. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. It's an interesting one. I kind of want to get into next week. Let's start talking about next week. A lot of interesting games. To start off on Thursday night. Sorry, guys, I'm a little off today. Starting on Thursday Night Football, though, we got Arizona and Washington on bye week. Thursday Night Football, tomorrow night, we got a barn burner. I know all of you want to tune in. We have the 2-10 New England Patriots against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Let me pull up my good old FanDuel to see the line for all of you fun bettors out there. I don't know. I think the Steelers are probably going to win this game. The Steelers' offense have been playing pretty – I don't want to say great as of late, but they've played a lot better since the firing of Matt Canada. They seem to want to push the ball downfield finally. You got Kenny Pickett injured. I don't know if he's playing this week. I think he's out, if I remember correctly. So you got no Kenny this week, which is hard. Mitch Trubisky. We're watching Mitch Trubisky versus Bailey Zappi on Thursday. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's not going to be fun. I don't know. Hopefully the Patriots could get a win just because Bill Belichick deserves it. But this one's not going to be a fun one at all. Let me tell you that. I can't find the odds. They're hiding the odds from me. Oh, no. How dare they? Steelers are getting 6 points right now. Yeah, give me the Steelers. Give me the Steelers in this one, also to cover more likely than not. Texans at Jets, that should be a fun one. CJ Stroud's humming. He's coming to New York, gets to show off in front of a big audience. Maybe the Jets. You know, Aaron is in shoes now, no longer in a boot. So that's big news. He was probably going to come back. He said on the Pat McAfee show the other day that he was shooting for Christmas Eve. But with the playoff hopes dwindling, so are Aaron Rodgers' playing hopes dwindling for this season at least. But good news that he's healthy nonetheless. Texans at Jets, this should be a fun one. Give me the Texans to win. Saints, Panthers, this one, I don't know. Saints are probably going to win. But if you, I don't want to get into the Saints at all. I really don't. They're really not playing well. Bucks Falcons. Give me the Bucks to upset here, tie the division up, get real interesting. It's kind of what I want to happen. The Falcons. I don't know, man. That Falcons offense is weird. The Falcons offense is weird, man. I don't know. They're so up and like I don't know. I feel like they're gonna lose every week and then they pull it out. I don't know. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know who it is. Like Desmond Ritter hasn't been playing well. Drake London has. Bijan Robinson has. Cordell Patterson's been playing really well over the past couple weeks. But I don't know. Something about this Falcons team. They're due for a loss, and I think the Bucs get a big win here in Atlanta. Rams travel into Baltimore, try to upset the Ravens, who we have not talked about in a while. They're coming off a big bye week. Well rested. Give me Baltimore to get a dub against the LA Rams at home this week. Look for Lamar to pop out. I think people were like, I think he's one of those dudes who's like, people forgot my name. I look for Lamar to have a big week this week, in my opinion. Lions at Bears. Give me Lions bouncing back after. I think they need to manhandle the Bears this week. After what happened with New Orleans last week, you were up 24-3 going into halftime. And for that to end up as a game like it was kind of scary for the Lions. I think you got to go into Chicago to prove that you're a contender. Really, you got to go into Chicago and get a big win. I think you do. I think they will, but I think this can't be a close game. I think you have to go into Chicago and win by at least 2 scores to prove that you're a contender. Colts at Bengals. Bengals without Joe Burrow. This one should be fun, interesting. The Bengals got that big win on Monday Night Football against the Jaguars, so you saw that they're capable of doing it. Yes, Trevor Lawrence got hurt, but that was so late in the game. Give me the Colts, though. Give me the Colts. The Colts have been humming as of late. Gardner Minshew has been putting it together. Shane Steichen's been playing absolutely well as of late. So yeah, give me the Colts. Give me the Colts. Jags at Browns. Give me Jacksonville for a bounce back win. I think that one should be fun, but yeah. Moving on to 4:00, Vikings Raiders. That one, I'm not excited for that game. This week, I'm not that excited for. I'm looking at these matchups. This week is boring, man. Vikings at Raiders should be fun. I think the Vikings coming off. What happened last week for the Vikings? Did they have a bye week last week? Why do I feel like they had a bye week last week? I think they're coming off a bye. If I remember correctly, coming off a bye. You got the Raiders. They're the Raiders, man. I don't know what's going on over there in Las Vegas. Max Crosby's a beast. That defense keeps him in it. You obviously have Devontae Adams, who's going to always be up for a good game. It's always possible when he's on the field. So the Raiders are always like, they're one of those sneaky teams that are going to win sneaky games. They're playing a Vikings team that's just as good as them. I think it's a Vikings team that's more hungry, though, than the Raiders. So give me the Vikings to win. Seahawks at Niners. Give me the Niners at home to manhandle. I'm completely honest there. I think the Niners get a big win here, move to 10-3. Man, Broncos, Chargers. Give me the Broncos bounce back win after the loss this week. I think the Broncos need a win. I think they're trying to squeeze in the playoffs. Same thing right now. We have no Bills in the playoffs. The Bills at the Chiefs should be a good one. The Bills got to start putting stuff together. They kind of need to win this week to start. If they're for playoff hopes, really, they got to win this week. And they don't. I don't know. The Bills. This Bills team is not a contending team. I don't know. Maybe they go on a run. Maybe they surprise a lot of people, but they don't seem like contenders. Sunday Night Football. We got the Eagles at the Cowboys. This one should be a good one. I think the Cowboys might pull it out. I'm not going to lie. I think the Cowboys might pull it out this week. Give me the Cowboys. Yeah. Monday Night Football. Titans at Dolphins. There's a doubleheader. And then Packers at Giants. Give me the Dolphins and the Packers in their games respectively. Yeah. Oh, man. What a week we have. Not a big week, really. Not a big week. Not a big week. Kind of boring. Big games for individual teams, though. The Bills got a big game. Packers got a big game. Vikings got a big game. Dallas has a big game. So a couple big games. A couple big games. Not all that entertaining, though. We'll see. We'll see. We say that a lot. This NFL season has been weird. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. Sorry about, the late start. I'm a little out of it today. A lot of technical difficulties got me off my vibe. If anybody did tune in, thank you for tuning in. If you tune in later, thank you. Check out past streams. Check out my TikTok. Please subscribe. YouTube videos. I know I say this a lot. YouTube videos will be coming soon, especially over winter break when it's going to be harder to live stream. I think I might just switch to a video format, kind of like KOT4Q. Shout out him for those of you that know. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm Logan. This is The Log Show. Peace out.